how do the Mets here thread the needle, balance trying to win next year while approaching this year's deadline?
Yeah, I think they have to be extremely surgical about what they're going to do at this deadline. Listen, just because this season has gone completely off the rails doesn't mean that some of the philosophies of putting this team together weren't sound. So if I'm the Mets and I'm listening on offers, let's say Freddie Peralta, let's say Clay Holmes, of course, they're getting calls on these guys. If I don't have major league talent being offered back to me that's going to help me in 2027, then maybe I just say no. Listen, there is nothing wrong with saying we're going to punt on this. There's qualifying offers that can be extended to these guys. Peralta for sure. Clay Holmes, we expect him to opt out. I know there's uncertainty with the CBA, but guys, I'm not trying to blow this thing up into smithereens. They did that last offseason, and the team was barely recognizable. I think you have to be smart. The Mets are one of the, actually think, few teams that are going to be sellers at this deadline. It should put them in an advantageous position. But don't get guys who you're not going to see until 2030. That makes no sense.
To me, I think that they do have to walk a fine line here because, if you're looking for young major league talent, well, are the contenders really going to be offering their young major league talent that they're using now to win? So you have to be, you have to judge who is going to help and, who going forward is going to be there. They've got to restock the farm system, too, because they've graduated a lot of guys. So I don't think necessarily that getting prospects now is such a bad thing because you have to dance around with the fact that you're not just building 27 off of this trade deadline. It's this trade deadline plus next offseason. So you're going to acquire players through free agency and trades then. So if you have a chance to get huge upside guys who may not be around, this is where I disagree with you, Maggie, a little bit, might not be around for a year or two, then I think you take advantage of that, too, because you've got to get some ready replacements in the farm system as well. They're gone. They're all on the major league team now.
And think about the farm system, though. Remember when they had that philosophy in 23, even though they paid to pare down some of those contracts like Scherzer and Verlander, and you thought you were getting good young minor league talent in return, how have those worked out for the Mets, right? I mean, some of them are either not even with the organization anymore or they're not really living up to their lofty expectations. Look, whatever's going to happen, guys, between now and August 3rd, I feel that it's not going to do any more damage to this big league roster than they took care of in the last offseason, which was just absolutely, you see what the record is. But when you look at this roster right now, you're one of the handful of worst teams in Major League Baseball. How can you sit here and not listen to almost everybody on the roster? I'm not saying the Nolan McClain and the two young outfielders, throw in Juan Soto, but for the most part, if I'm David Stearns and I'm the Mets, somebody calls up and wants to engage about a player, I'm listening because guess what? We're not winning a heck of a lot of games with these guys.
Yeah, but, it was an offseason that had so much change, and I think we all got really excited because you see some of the names and think, all right, they're going to come in immediately, and this is going to be a title contender. Well, it didn't work out. It doesn't mean all these guys are bad players now. It doesn't mean that they have completely disappeared. And, yeah, I know you don't have a lot of proof of concept for this season. You're also going to have to go through a manager search. You're also going to have a CBA that could maybe reset the entire sport, especially for big market, big spending teams like the Mets. You don't know what you're dealing with yet. So that is why I would be surgical. I think there are actually, I know this is going to be crazy, there are the bones of a good team in here. And Dan's rolling his eyes. I think there's the bones of a good team. I wouldn't just be willy-nilly trading guys away just to get back 50 cents on the dollar. That does not make any sense.
And they're not going to do that. Like, people have this thought in their mind, terrible year, sell, sell, sell. No, there's a difference between selling everybody and rebuilding and what the Mets are going to do. The obvious guys who aren't under contract next year, they are going to trade them because they don't need them now and other teams do. Get back prospects. There are other. It's why I'd be looking, if I'm David Stearns, at Mason Miller. Like, I'm not trying to give up to get all the prospects to get him, maybe taking on a bad salary. Like, those are the type of moves.
Can't wait to get Xander Bogaerts on this team.
All I'm saying is they should be looking. That's the one obvious move that would help them beyond this year.
100%.
They should be looking at everything. How do you think, real quick, side note, how do you think Met fans would feel if it came out between now and August 3rd that they acquired Mason Miller?
They'd love it.
Of
course they'd love it. You're welcome. Like, free PR in an otherwise disastrous year, they would forget everything and be like, oh, my God, we just got Mason Miller. Now, it wouldn't matter this year. And, again, I don't expect it to happen. But I'm saying that would reinvigorate the fan base already and remind them that this year's gone. We're going to win next year, period, end of story.
How Brody Van Wagenen of you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I do it the right way.
Buying when everyone thinks you're selling.
If Van Wagenen did it, he gives up the prospects and takes on the bad contract. I would just take on the bad contract. Alluding there to Francisco Lindor, still non-committal, Dan?
Well, I mean, look, whether you think that he's overstayed his welcome, whether you want to move on from him, whether you want to keep him, I just think it'll be a long shot that he's not a member of the New York Mets. I mean, he's going to be here. There's a lot of complications, guys. I mean, first of all, he's a 10-5 guy, so he can nullify any sort of trade. He still has $170 million still coming his way. And by the way, think about the year that he's coming off of right here. An injury-prone season where he's not producing. I mean, what team in Major League Baseball is saying is like, I want that guy for the salary that he still has on his contract. So he's going to be a Met unless something just blockbuster happens. And for those type of blockbusters, that's more tailored for the offseason when you're going to have time for these conversations. But with the labor dispute, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, that's an awfully complex transaction that take place right now, especially with Lindor holding as much power in it as he does. And frankly, guys, if the Mets do get bowled over by some offer for Francisco Lindor, and it does happen, okay, but then you're really telling us that next year is kind of like, we're not going to contend.
Well, not to get bowled over by an offer. I think that's the key. They're not giving him away.
But what I'm saying is that you're not giving up major league players to get Lindor, are you? Or you're giving away your shortstop who's just okay? I mean, I'll take the, just to fire people up here. Let's look at the Yankees if they wanted to trade for him. And they said, here, you can have Anthony Volpe and a couple of prospects.
Yeah, right. Anthony Volpe. I quit if the Mets ever did that. What are you kidding me?
I'm just trying to provoke you, Sal. But that's what we're looking at there. Like, and if that happens, are the Mets really in a position to then contend again next year? Because whatever you think about Lindor and his future play, next year is supposed to be one of the great years of the contract for this guy, regardless of whether he's backslid a little bit or not. And I think you're taking one of the big positions on the field, weakening it considerably if you trade him. And then are you saying that 27 is like, well, we'll see if we can do it. Maybe we'll get lucky in free agency?